Hey guys, Vance Larson with VanceLarsonLifeCoaching.com. I wanted to talk a little bit about first response and active shooter scenarios. It's been quite some time since I've engaged in first response work. I still do a little bit of crisis work, but should you find yourself in an active shooter response, we are seeing this more frequently across the United States. And in one study that I actually came across, we're actually seeing up to 20 workplace murders happen a week here in the U.S. alone. So I wanted to talk about what to do should you find yourself in an active shooter scenario. You actually have three options, and those options are run, hide, and fight. Option number one is optimally going to be the best scenario. When you are in school, whether you're at work, whether you're in a movie theater, if take a few minutes as you are walking into the establishment just to kind of familiarize yourself where the active exits are, and if there's going to be anything that's going to be obstructing those. Very important. We saw a scenario. I think it was just last year in a movie theater where I think it was a dozen or so people actively were murdered in a movie theater. And so if you can run, absolutely run. Scenario number two is hide. In a situation where you can't run, if you have been cut off from your exits, hide. And there's a few things that you need to know about hiding. If you can, get yourself into a room and close the door, lock it. I know that sounds like common sense, but you would be surprised at how many people, just out of panic and fear, they forget that step. Lock the door, turn out the lights. Studies show that an active shooter scenario generally is over within 5 to 15 minutes. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could be that the shooter has been contained through the police, or they've self-contained. A lot of times we are seeing that the shooter will go ahead and kill themselves, and sometimes the police will go ahead and take care of the threat as well. So most of those scenarios are going to be over in 5 to 15 minutes, so that's critical. If you can run, and if you hide, get yourself into a room, lock the door, turn out the lights, and then also very important, silence your phone. A lot of times in that scenario is that given the fact that the time is generally 5 to 15 minutes for the whole event to be over, the active shooter, if they're walking down a hallway and they come across the door that's locked and the lights are out, more often than not, they're going to go ahead and move on to the next door. So very important to do so. Now, I know that there are products out there that you can actually purchase specifically for an active shooter event, which will go ahead and put it on the door, and it will lock the door, and the door is literally unbreakable. Unless, of course, you have some sort of C4 or some sort of explosive, and then in which case the door would certainly be open. But these devices, they're not too expensive, and they're a great investment for the company or for the school. And then the last scenario is fight. There will be times, and there have been times, where running is not an option, hiding is not an option, and you're going to have to fight. So what you need to know about the fighting is that my thing is that depending on how many people that you have, place yourselves at both ends of the door. And you want to remember your angles. If somebody's coming in through a door, whether it's a long gun or whether it's a pistol, there's going to be some space in between them. And again, depending on the gun, the clip is only going to have 15, maybe 30, maybe 45 at most. So unless they are military trained, special forces trained, they're not going to have the technical proficiency to actually take care of the threat if you have people on both sides of the door. And optimally, if someone is coming through a door, you want to hit high and hit low. You want to go ahead and take care of the threat as best as you possibly can. So some people are going to say, go ahead and hide, and as they come through the door, just throw books at them or something like that. I mean, it's really hard to say what we're going to do in that situation, but that is just a recipe for disaster. Not only are you giving yourself up in terms of your hiding spot, but now you've given the perpetrator a clear line of a sight between you and them, and that would be an easy shot. So your scenarios are run, hide, fight, know your exits. Remember to turn off your phone. Call 911 if you can, but do not call 911 if that's going to put you in jeopardy. That type of scenario would be is that if you're in a room and you know that the gunman is walking down the hall and he's literally right outside of your door, don't get on the phone and start a dialogue with 911. The other thing that you absolutely need to remember is that when law enforcement arrives on the scene, they are not there to help you. They're not there to help the victims. They are there to literally stop the threat of violence. So when you see law enforcement, they're not going to be there to triage someone who's been wounded. They're there to stop that threat. So that's all I have for you today, guys. It's something that it literally only takes a few seconds when you walk into a new environment or an old environment such as your office. Know where the exits are. Know what the plan is, whether to run, hide, or fight. Okay, take care of yourselves. God bless.